Greetings, servants to the Imperium, or should I say belated greetings, servants to the Imperium. Success requires no explanation, failure allows for none, so spake the Emperor. Bollocks, so spake I. The point I'm trying to make is that I only want to apologise for the lack of broadcast on the Adeptus Video Garmin. I better explain what happened. A power supply provided to me by some Corsairs had blown up upon the ship, and I had to go to the computer planet of Mars to get it fixed, and the Adeptus Mechanicus took 4 weeks to get it sorted. However, while on Mars I did come across some very interesting individuals, such as the Doctor and his wingman. There he wanted me to have a look at some interesting old technology of ancient terror, so you may be able to see some of my thoughts in one of his broadcasts very soon, or, well, depending on how the warp feels, then it might be sooner than this one, we'll have to see. I also came across Admiral Doomsinger, who told me that the events of the Gothic sector, the battle that went on there in the 13th Black Crusade with Abaddon the Despoiler, have been recorded in video game format. There's not that many video games in the 43rd millennium, so it'd be nice to see just how great the Adeptus Video Garmus were in a video game. And we also had some help from the other battle fleets as well, but they weren't really that important. So yeah. But anyway, let's just focus on this one today. This is about another fight for the galaxy with nitrous oxide, the evil space tyrant of the galaxy someplace somewhere. He threatened ancient terror in a time where terror was ancient. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. Let's get this show on the road. That was actually a good pun because it's about roads and, well, it's not really a show, but still. Enjoy!
If you were to ask which were the best racing games since they crawled out of the oozing womb of the video games industry, you'd be hard pressed to find someone who didn't consider Crash Team Racing one of them. And it's true that it's known mostly for being a Mario Kart clone, even if the comparisons begin with Mascot Racer and end with item pickups. Perhaps this is a controversial opinion, but this game makes Mario Kart pre-Double Dash look like aborted bags of wet shit in comparison. Well, okay, maybe they're not that bad. CTR remains familiar with its goofy story and wacky characters by introducing a new one of each. Nitrous Oxide, an intergalactic warlord, has scanned the racetracks of Earth and decided to challenge its most dysfunctional members of society to fight for the planet's freedom, or rather race for Earth's independence. The person who beats all of the tracks as well as the boss challenges will earn the chance to fight Oxide in the battle for Earth, and of course he's a bloody cheat. Failure to beat him will result in the world being turned into a gigantic parking lot. Bear in mind, boils and ghouls, that this game was made when there's an organic planet to do that to. As ridiculous and maybe shoehorned in the story is, I admire the effort. It adds adversity that encourages me to play rather than the arcadey feel of other kart races. I guess I need to be validated by the games I play. When you've been sent the message by dihydrogen monoxide, you'll get the chance to choose one of the many characters in the Crash Bandicoot universe. Crash and Cortex have equal stats in speed, acceleration and turn, whereas Engine and Coco have the best acceleration ability. Tiny Tiger and Dingo Dale are the fastest characters in the game, but sacrifice control, whereas Polar and Pura are the total opposite. These stats don't matter so much because all other characters are viable, but you will notice turn and acceleration have a slight impact. Top speed is normally what devs design their kart races around, but you'll be quick to find it's all about the power slide in CTR. We'll cover this fairly soon. The game takes place in a gigantic lobby with themed sub-lobbies that have additional levels and bosses. Unlike the platform games after CB1, each of the levels have to be played in a linear order. This would defeat the point of a lobby if it weren't for the additional challenges available when you beat the sub-lobby's boss. To access the boss, you need all of the sector's trophies, and to do that, we need to race. It's the first few seconds that unrelentingly grabbed at my attention for multiple reasons. First off, the controls. There's real oomph when you get that successful boost, which happens when the red bar at the bottom right corner of the screen fills up. I took great pleasure in blasting dust into the other racers' faces and had a rictus grin on my face the entire match. That's another thing, the mood this game creates. On top of the scarily responsive controls, you've got the banter of the different characters, cursing and reacting as they're overtaken or get slammed in the arse with a deadly projectile, or if they're simply insulted by a victor. Not to mention the masturbatory winning screen and individual character themes for it.
Congratulations! You win a trophy!
But getting back on track, no pun intended, the racing is some of the most, what's a good 90s word I could use? Wicked, yeah. The racing is wicked, partly for its controls. In fact, if the game didn't feature combat, it'd still be an excellent racer, intense single-player and multiplayer experience. This is especially the case with the remarkable power slide ability, whereby you can perform a sharp turn and, during a short window, you can unleash a boost that'll shoot you through the track faster than anyone's died in a slippery climb. And if you manage to rack up 3 of these in quick succession, you'll pretty much dominate the map. It's imperative you learn the art of power sliding because they'll contribute more to your victory than weapons found in question mark crates. Unless you're hit by them. We're all familiar with TNT crates and nitro, except here the former jumps onto your head when you collide with it and you only have a few seconds to leap like a lunatic to disarm it or explode. The bombs from Crash Bandicoot 3's jet ski levels act as rolling projectiles with more explosive results when they collide with racers and walls. Embryo's flasks are a favourite with Papoo Papoo, causing players to lose control of their vehicle, a similar effect to Entropy's Time Twister Clock, only that affects all 8 racers. The last of the not-so-desperate power-ups are the Aku Aku and Uka Uka masks that shield good and evil players respectively, as well as give them a small boost to their general speed. Other powers consist of jet fuel, homing missiles, shield snicks from the Sonic games, and the warp. Yeah, that portal at the beginning and end of the levels in CB3, that's the blue shell before the blue shell became the blue shell. And nobody made any memes about that, did they? I guess I didn't have any friendships to be ruined by the warp back then. Besides question mark crates, there's also bouncy crates which provide 1 per, counting toward your 5 a day, as -2. These apples of unknown origin provide a huge upgrade to your items so long as you're carrying 10 at once. Status effects last longer, projectiles move faster, and you'll be guaranteed to be the envy of the other drivers. It's this addition to the game that keeps players competitive and strive to do better, especially when 1 per is lost when you hit, forcing you to adjust your power sliding so you can pick up that 1 per or ignore it for the sake of a speed pad. Collecting trophies is only part of the battle against endoperoxide, as you'll need to get keys to other parts of the lobbies from boss garages. And I must confess, I've always liked the idea of having to roll into a boss garage rather than warp into a room vaguely themed around the person you'll be facing. Well, that's sort of the case. See, boss battles take place in existing maps. For example, you'll go through Roo's tubes when you're putting the pedal to the metal against Ripperoo, or gallivanting through the galaxy in Oxide Station when you're up against carbon dioxide. But they have a twist though. They're faster and a whole sight meaner than the AI you're used to. In addition to the base speed buff, bosses have a habit of throwing out medals and items of their choice behind them, making power sliding a pain in the brake lights. Still, the rush we get from overtaking a dastardly driver is turbocharged because of the boss's challenge, plus the boss theme used for all the garages is one of the most encouraging songs I've ever heard in a racing game. When you beat the boss, and I don't mean pretend to as you shut off the game and cry into a pillow, you'll be awarded with the key required to access the new zone. This also means that you can try challenges previously unavailable, such as time attack and CTR challenges. Before I get onto those though, I'd like to address the map situation. I don't mean the minimap, that's fine, I mean the tracks. You never guessed that Dragon Mines had anything to do with Komodo Joe, except for the fact that it has his face plastered all over it. Engine Labs is more like the levels prior to the boss battle with Pinstripe Portaloo in Crash Bandicoot 1. And don't even get me started on Cortex Castle. Barely any of the maps in this game represent the Crash universe, and make few efforts to incorporate assets from the previous games. Oh, but don't you worry, we know it's a Crash game because the boss icons from CB3 can be seen in stained glass in the Citadel sector of the lobby. Pro tip for any aspiring mascot racing game devs out there, it takes more than Tiny's face in Wario Stadium to transform it into Tiny Arena. This isn't to say that the maps are as bad as a blasted gasket or whatever goes wrong with cars, less so if we were to compare this game to others of a similar release date. CTR offers a lot of verticality, twists and turns, shortcuts and level hazards that dare you to take risks, but it doesn't take long for you to feel that everything is flat. The smooth roads with little details and a lot of sharp edges show the game's age. I have to say that Tiny Arena, for all its flaws, and Oxide Station are the most inventive maps, and yet they've become the standard for kart races a generation later, as evidenced by Crash Nitro Kart and Mario Kart Double Dash, but like I say, they're still fun and only made better with additional challenges. Until you've beaten the boss, you can't go back to the tracks in that sector, but afterwards you can return to them and prove your mettle twice more. I only recommend you do these additional challenges after you've beaten the game, even if potassium chloride gives you a guilt trip for not getting all the time relics and gems. That shit still pisses me off in the original trilogy. Time trials are the same as Crash 3. Beat the track as fast as you can and smash the yellow time freeze crates as you go along. Here though, time trials are far harder. You've got to evenly smash the crates throughout the map to get the best time in case you screw up with your power slides or use your last boost. And most tracks are also more punishing than others, as some crates require you to go out of your way to get them, and the slightest mistake can ruin the entire run. If you're successful, you get a relic based on your performance. When you get 10 relics, you earn access to Slide Coliseum. A power slide is a wet dream. Seriously, I wanked to this track. Then you've got the CTR tokens, the meat of the endgame content. As with so many other things in the Crash games, the simplicity of this task is deceptive. The idea is to obtain the letters C, T and R in the level, while also winning the race in first place. Believe it or not, it'd be easier to find a staircase in a bungalow than to do this, and get any fun out of it. Finding the letters isn't too difficult, but reaching them is an entirely different matter altogether. You'll be expected to know all the best jumps and slide opportunities, as well as discover some of the most obscure shortcuts in video gaming. Even if you manage to get them all in relatively quick time, you still got to worry about the very competent AI and being the first to pass the checkered flag. It gets worse though. A single CTR token is as much good as a chocolate teapot. The same if you have all of them in one lobby but nowhere else. Because it's the colour of the token that counts, and only if you have all of each are you granted access to the cup. Win the cup and you win the gem. Win the gems and you win a new level. And then you can go back to Oxide, kick his ass into the sun, and then be sure you're the fastest racer in the galaxy. Well, almost as fast as me.
I think it's high time we checked under the hood and hear the engines roar by looking at the graphics and the soundtrack.
I think we've both spent enough time in this review to make a judgment on how the game looks. Naughty Dog have always done astounding environmental artwork, and the graphical quality and aesthetics make Crash fans feel welcome. But not fooled by the illusion of the majority, if not then some, of the maps not being part of the Crash universe. Still, the effort is crystal clear, and had the names been tweaked, more familiar assets used, and even gameplay from previous Crash games, we'd have a far better world to race around than we already have. Playable characters are a tad unpleasant to look at, with some very uncomfortable facial expressions and awkward animations. I mean, just look at Papu on his garage invite screen. Just look at him. Look at him! But Christ in a cart, I can't find a single complaint about the soundtrack, and I'll gleefully drive over the testicles of someone who would be foolish enough to criticise it. Every track is upbeat with a steady tempo, and the use of instruments like steel drums, xylophones and horns makes for a unique and suitable list of songs. The best tracks? The lobby themes, which remain the same, but as you transition between the zones, the tune has a noticeable change to welcome your arrival. It's things like this that make me glad of lobbies, especially in Banjo-Kazooie. There's only two kart races that I think are as astounding as this: Diddy Kong Racing and Mario Kart 8. If we're to look at this as a bog standard kart racer, Crash Team Racing offers sky-high quality in spades. The controls are the most important thing, and this game makes playing effortless. Vehicles move buttery smooth, and making great leaps or well-needed power slides feel rewarding. The opposite can be said for when you're blown into the air, making you feel bad for not evading a rogue TNT crate or a pesky missile. But if we're looking at this for what it is, it goes above and beyond with its extra content and how it gates it off. Boss battles add a personal touch, rounding off the lobby's available levels with a dramatic finish. But why they're working against Cortex is beyond me. I mean, do they want the world to be reduced to a car park? With them in it?
Until the next time, I'm Commissar Johnbonne of the Adeptus Video Garmus, keeping the galaxy safe from tyrants like Nitrous Oxide because the Inquisitors of the Ordo Xenos can't seem to do their job properly. They don't actually watch this, do they?